You're listening to the Fitzrock Podcast, interviews where we explore the shifts and transitions of life. Here are your hosts, Keith Rock and Don Fitzsimmons. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we are really excited to have Natalie Griffin-Harris with us. Natalie is the mother of 3 adult children. She has 5 grandchildren and another one on the way. She is the owner and operator of Fearless Communication Solutions, is a corporate trainer, and she facilitates on-site and public seminars, does customized coaching and training for small businesses, and especially in these areas, communication, leadership, and customer service. And in her spare time, when she has nothing to do, she is also a realtor in both Kansas and Missouri. Natalie, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Well, Don, thank you so much. And Keith, thank you all for having me. I just appreciate you all holding this space for me. And I hope that, we just have a good visit and conversation today.
Well, we're definitely very excited to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your journey of life?
My journey of life. Well, oh my goodness. Well, I'll be 54 in July. So that's a long journey. But so I grew up in Kansas. I was actually born in Virginia, grew up in Lawrence, actually. And then moved to Olathe probably mid-20s. And so as you can tell based on my age, most of my life was in Olathe after moving further south. So been more on the Kansas side until recently, just exploring the Missouri side. I have both my parents are still living, which is wonderful. And I have 3 brothers. One has passed away, but then I have a younger set of brothers as well. So just, my family foundation, my father's side of the family is very, very, very close-knit. And my parents, so I grew up in a Christian household. And they are very, very strong in their faith. When I teach my seminars, I always reference my parents being my first example of what servant leadership looked like. And I've always grown up with that, example. To this day, they still, serve and give, lovingly, which hence that was my foundation for having a gift of moving in that space of not just communication, but in customer service all along through my, corporate, being partnered with many corporate entities, is T-Mobile and Sprint and so many others. But going through, when we talk about, my journey, the, faith journey, being exposed to, Christianity at a very, I'd say we were Baptist at first at some point in time, but then being exposed to just what it looks like to be in a non-denominational surrounding and just being immersed into, God's word, what that looks like. But then also along that journey, that you talked about, we all have bumps and we have bruises and we have, potholes and all kinds of things that set us off in different directions. So through my journey, I had a lot of those. I had a lot of, detours, a lot of hurdles, all of those things that we think in our mind that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this, or, somebody else is shocked that you went through that experience or that you did something, right? So through that journey, taking on a lot of shoulds from other people. You should be doing this, or you shouldn't do that, or the way other people, saw me. So a long journey, and you'll have to ask some questions, throughout there, because there is a lot to, my journey in being, in a very, very long relationship that was most of my life, a lot of my life. I'm thankful for just that time and that particular relationship, because it opened up my eyes and my heart when the relationship was over to see that I was very dependent on functioning in that realm. But then when I was out of that realm, I had no idea who I was.
Mhm.
No idea what I was supposed to do, what I was supposed to think, and so many different things. So that opens up the door to, hey, here's another journey with a different story.
Yeah.
And how is this going to be, used? And how are all of the many things that I've been fortunate enough to, learn and going through breakthrough and having these tools available to really look at how do you process information? How do you forgive people and truly walk in that space of allowing yourself grace? But in allowing yourself grace and letting yourself be okay to do certain things or to grieve, but you also allow and give grace to other people along the way. So there's a lot there.
I know, in so many different directions I could go here with
Right.
my next question.
Take your pick, Don.
Take my pick, I know. Well, this podcast is a lot about shifts and transitions that people go through, how they've overcome challenges, how they've navigated kind of some of those potholes in life. Can you talk a little bit about how some of those potholes in your life have contributed to what you're passionate about today?
What I am very passionate about is, really, well, we know customer service as a topic, right? But that goes so much deeper for me because it's not just customer service in the realm of going and having someone else go into a place of business or something like that. In my mind, customer service or service is really having that servitude spirit of serving your family, serving your friends, serving, the people around you. So whatever I can do to help you, to help, either connect to or further you, along. So I would say that the potholes that I've experienced just really open the door for me to first connect with who Natalie is and find that authentic voice that I never really expressed with transparency. And that was, one thing that through, the potholes and recognizing that, Natalie, what you just did or what you just thought, was that something that was what you truly authentically wanted for yourself or felt led to do? Or was that something that part of that old baggage that had not been unpacked yet? And are you taking that on? So those potholes took me on a journey in which I'm still on, quite honestly, because over 30 years, that's a very long time of just life and experiencing life and seeing the good things that came out of that and the other things that I need to unpack, right? And I don't want to take along with me on the next journey. So being able to move in that space of authenticity feeds into my need, desire, and the energy to connect with people, to serve, people, but also seeing people. When you can see yourself and truly see yourself, then it opens up your eyes and heart to see other people and hold space for those people.
So you have really wanted to, sounds like, invest in other people, make
Always.
their lives better. But you brought up a great point. How do you tell the difference between your authentic self and just trying to make people happy for your own accolades?
Mm-hmm. Or just for not even your own. One of the things I discovered about myself, because I am a giver, I love to cater to, people, but I also had to take a look at, okay, what is it about that? Are you doing this um, because you truly love to do it? Or is there something that is missing and you're doing this because it will fulfill that lack or that gap of something that you're not receiving? A good example would be at different times, not every time, but I did recognize that, okay, am I putting myself into this party because I truly want to, host and, serve these people? Or am I putting myself into this and hosting this party because out of this party, I will get and feel genuinely appreciated, or I will feel like I am worth something because I have stuff in this bag over here that hasn't been unpacked of little things that says you have no value, you have no worth, you have no, these things. So just connecting the dots on, hey, you know what? Let's unpack all of these negative things. Let's let go of these that have been put on me by others and move into this let's say throwing parties or gatherings or whatever, and decide, okay, this is because I want to serve you, not because there is something that I'm lacking. And I know that from this, I'm going to be able to fill that gap.
Do you find, like, I think oftentimes we see that we have a little bit of, all motivations in there, and we may not even be aware of those motivations, but like they're partly, they're part of both of those things, maybe not always, but do you?
I would say that through the journey, the ups and downs, the potholes that Don talked about, it was really recognizing when those times, would come up, but also in recognizing those times, then I could pick and choose when I did something. And really over a period of time here in the last, I'd probably say more within the last year, unpacking those things so that there was no gray area. There's no gray area. Am I doing this because of this, or am I doing it because of this? Well, I've unpacked those things out of, my baggage. It's no longer part of my baggage, if that makes sense.
So is there maybe one pothole or couple that you'd like to share what those specifically were and how you got through those?
I would probably, there's a lot of potholes, Keith. How much
I know
time
we all
have?
do.
The biggest pothole, and I would probably, I'm going to say, not probably, I'm going to say that fear was probably the biggest thing for me. Fear is when moving in a space of fear held me back from a lot of things, a lot of things. And I know that it contributed to even the negative side of, being in my past relationship, of just being, fearful of it, whether it was communicating or whatever it is, even in my own mind, right? Just that fear stopped so many things from happening at that particular time. So as we go through and we talk about, my journey, the fear of being judged, or the fear of making the wrong decision, or, there's so many, things that keep you stuck. And so for me, that pothole, that fear kept me stuck. It kept me quiet. It kept me stagnant. It kept me in a state of depression. There's a lot of places that fear, took me. So over a period of time, moving through those potholes, they are now not as deep because they've been filled up with good things. There's still potholes there, but they've been filled up, just like road construction. You have to fix those. Those potholes aren't fixed, they're going to do some damage. Well, that damage hurts. So it was time to start filling those potholes. It not only hurts you, but guess what? Those potholes, they also hurt other people. So as those potholes through my journey are being filled up, they're not completely full, but they don't hurt as much, and they're not hurting other people along the way.
Most of the people we've had on this podcast have realized that in order to deal with stuff like that, they've needed to commit themselves to personal growth. And that could either look like therapy, or it could look like personal growth seminars, sometimes even just reading about things. But in order to really get to the bottom of our motivations, we often need help with that. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I just wanted our listeners to understand that our motivations for doing things are really the most important thing. It's not so much what we do as it is, why are we doing it? And that just comes from insight that other people can sometimes help us with. So Thanks for reiterating that one more time.
Right.
We're in the middle of a series on lessons I've learned. So for people who are listening who don't know you very well, can you share with us some of the major lessons you've learned in life? How about that for our broad question, right?
The lessons I've learned in life is forgiveness is so important. Forgiveness for not just yourself, but truly forgiving other people as well. Because when you walk in forgiveness, you're able to change even the perspective that you see situations. You're able to change the perspective that you see people. There's a lot of change that comes behind forgiveness. But then it also, what I've found, one of the other lessons that I've learned is, love is a big part of that as well. So you have forgiveness, but then you also have love, but not just to say love, but to truly experience and to give and have space for unconditional love. That love just to say, I'm not going to just love you because of who you are or who you're associated with. I'm going to love you because I love you. And because, for one, God tells us to love, right? For whom, whatever our listeners, whatever your faith path is or whatever, love is going to be a part of whatever your path is. So having just that lesson learned for me is love is so important. And it feels so much better than holding in all of the other negative things that.
How in the world do you learn to forgive people who have just really hurt you?
Dawn! Well, I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. Lots of therapy.
Okay. And Natalie, just so you know, I can edit out anything you don't want to answer.
I'm saying, you know what? You can, it's true. It's real. And I really don't talk a whole lot, at all about my journey. Not a lot of people know. And to edit something out would probably be editing something that is authentic and true. And it may help someone, Awesome. I know without a shadow of a doubt that my path and the journey, whether it looks bad or feels bad or looks good or feels good, everything happens for a reason. And I just know that if I give space to it, that it's going to be used in a way to help or elevate somebody or trigger a thought or a positive emotion. It's going to be used, somehow. But how do you get there? It's continuously giving yourself that space. I say space and I say grace because you really do have to do it. Even if you don't feel it, you still seek it until it becomes a part of your natural, being. But I wasn't kidding about the therapy. I've probably been in therapy probably for the past 25 years of my life, of some sort of, therapy. And, breakthrough was another huge part of taking me through this phase of what my journey looks like.
Like, is there any other lesson you'd like to, as we're starting to come to a close, is there any other lesson you'd like to talk about before we get to the closing here?
The other lesson that stands out, and these are all ongoing things of recognizing and choosing these things, is really recognizing the damage and hindrance that negative self-talk can have on a person. When you perceive a situation to be one way, or, in your mind, you have these thoughts, either I can't, I shouldn't, whatever the negative thought, it could be a negative thought about someone. It has the potential to take you down a path that it could be potentially the wrong path. And so the other lesson I would say that I've learned, be aware of those negative things that go through my mind, and to evaluate, okay, how is that thought is triggering an emotion, and recognizing that emotion, because that emotion, it really does then trigger some sort of, action or reaction of some sort. But it all starts with a thought.
I really love that lesson because it's one I think we all have to battle with and deal with. And it's a tough one, but an important one. Is there, so for people out there, we listed a lot of incredible things that you do. So people want to get a hold of you. What are some ways they can get a hold of you, Natalie?
So for me, my direct contact number for the Fearless Communication Solutions, or even for the real estate, is going to be 913-709-1893. And the temporary email address at the moment is just my NAT, so Nat, with a G at the end, 4168, and it's a Gmail email. And again, that's temporary, but any questions, there's people that may hear this, may not hear it, and they think, I want to know a little bit more, or I want to connect and ask questions. I welcome those questions, because I didn't have anyone to talk to for such a long time that had experience, or they had the emotional availability to hold space for me in a positive, sense. So that would probably be another lesson I've learned, is to allow space and grace for other people when they need a listening ear or have questions.
Natalie, thank you so much for being with us today. The wisdom that you have shared is so helpful, and we are very grateful that you have given us space to share your story.
Dawn, thank you so much. Mr. Keith,
thank you.
Thank you for being persistent.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fitz Rock Podcast. The music you are hearing is Swim with Wild Musical Instruments by Your My Muse. Copyright 2019 and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial License. Until next time, have a fantastic life.